Treasurer Palmer. Present. And Clerk Flintoff, present. We're all here. Also here is Deputy Clerk Mary Gillis, off screen here. We have a proposed agenda. Are there any changes or is there a motion to adopt as presented?
I'll second.
Motion by Palmer, seconded by Hathaway. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, agenda adopted as proposed. Communications to the board, that was an error. Skip that. No communications to the election commission. We welcome them. Next up is public comment. This is the time for members of the public to speak up to 5 minutes or 3 minutes on any matter under the purview of the election commission. We've no members of the public in person. We do have some on Zoom. Would anybody on Zoom like to share a public comment to the election commission? If so, please raise your Zoom hand. Okay, I see none. Seeing no public comment, I'd like to move on to the approval of the minutes. Our last meeting was on February 9th, and the draft minutes are attached here.
Test.
Yeah, the public accuracy test was the last time we convened.
Well, I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Hathaway, support by Palmer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Minutes are approved as presented. Okay, moving on to new business. We have two big elections coming up, our state primary on August 6th and our general election on November 5th. And so today we have two pieces of business to get us moving forward for those elections. The first one is specifically in preparation for August 6th, and it would be a resolution to establish absent voter counting boards. That's become the norm here in Scio Township, but it's always at the discretion of the election commission to actually do so. See in item G1, we have a resolution I would propose to establish 80 counting boards for the state primary. As a reminder, we've consolidated to 5 precincts. There's a map over there. Thank you, Mary. As a reminder, the board and election commission reduced from 8 to 5 precincts. And so what we would do is have 5 corresponding 80 count boards. So 5 boards for 5 precincts. 80 count board 1 would be precinct 1, 80 count board 2, precinct 2, etc.
All in the same place.
And we would again use meeting hall as the AV counting board space. So this would authorize the establishment of 5 AV count boards and the use of the meeting hall space for that purpose.
Well, I would move the model motion to adopt the resolution to establish absent voter counting boards for the August 6th, 2024 state primary election.
Great.
It's just the primary.
Yes, just the primary. We would have to take this step again prior to the general.
Right after.
Okay. And also.
Okay. And support by Palmer. Is there any other discussion? Okay, if not, I'll do a roll call. Supervisor Hathaway,
Yes.
Treasurer Palmer,
Yes.
Clerk Flintoff, yes. Resolution is adopted 3-0. Great. So what that allows us to do is we'll then finish configuring for the primary, and we'll start configuring our machines and appointing inspectors for that as well. Before we move on to G2, which is kind of setting the dates for our election commission meetings, I want to give a little update about where we're at on the August 6th. We've proofed the ballot. We got that done. And so it'll be a 2-sided ballot, 8.5 by 14. Again, it's going to be one of those ballots where we typically get a lot of people who spoil their ballots, make mistakes because they cross over. So the big message is you can't cross over. There's a Democratic column and a Republican column, and you can vote in only one of those. And on this ballot for Scio Township, there are 4 proposals. all of them renew and restore funding proposals. So 3 are from the county and the 4th is the township bus proposal, which will be at the very bottom of the very back of the ballot. We've got about 4,000 people on our permanent ballot list and about 4,000 people on our permanent absentee voter application list. The 4,000 people who are still on our permanent absentee voter application list have applications in the mail to them yesterday. So they should be receiving them any day. They can opt to get a ballot for 0, 1, 2, or all elections. So if they opt in to going from the permanent absent voter application list to the permanent ballot list, that means they'll forego the need to do future applications. And I'm explaining this because right now we're sort of in this transition period where we literally have about 4,000 on each list. Okay, so the other 4,000 who are on the permanent ballot list, I think we're going to get a lot of calls and questions about this. Like, hey, my husband received an application, but I didn't. And it'll be like, yeah, that's because you got yourself on the permanent ballot list and he hasn't done that yet. And that's okay. So people can do whatever they want. The people on the permanent ballot list aren't going to hear anything from us until we just send the ballot. We expect to have the ballots by the statutory deadline, which is Saturday, June 22nd. So by law, the county clerk and the printers are supposed to have them to us. There have been times where they're late, but they're usually like on the day. So we'll be working all weekend and into that next week to get them out and into the mail, probably June 24th or so. Ish. That's also the date by which we'll send them to all of our military overseas voters on that Saturday.
So they get mailed a hard copy ballot overseas.
Overseas, if most of them have opted, most of them have exercised their right to receive an emailed ballot.
Okay.
So in a big election, or a deployed military can receive an emailed ballot to just get it to them a little faster. They still have to print it and mail it back. There's also the option I want to make sure everybody knows about, which is the accessible ballots. So the accessible ballots for people with different disabilities, we can email them a special link. And with, I think it's integrated with, Adobe or other PDF software. There's different ways that they can complete the ballot and then print it and send it in to us. So it's called a accessible absentee ballot. So oftentimes in the polls, we have those accessible units, those voter assist terminals. Oftentimes they go virtually unused. I don't want anybody to ever get the impression that we don't have people with disabilities voting, because we do. It's just not most of them are voting absentee through this new technology. So, but nobody can email their ballot back.
And everything has to be hard.
Right. And then after we do the first big mail out, we process ballots daily. So as applications come in, we're sending out ballots daily to them. So we'll expect for the primary, we'll be mailing out at least 4,000. And I think in that initial push, it'll be closer to 6,000.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's like,
Yeah. So in August 2020, the turnout was about 50%. When I looked,
yeah,
it was 50% of all voters. So I don't know if this will be, similar. Certainly 2020 pandemic, that was our first election in the pandemic. But a lot more people are voting now, generally on everything.
And if I heard you correctly, that there's about 4,000 voters on each of those two absentee voter lists. One is the permanent one, one is the one that they haven't moved yet to the permanent.
Yeah, so one is a permanent application list and one is a permanent ballot list. The people on the permanent application list are a lot of the people who didn't vote in the presidential primary and who didn't vote in the November special election.
Oh, that would have moved them over. They would have.
Yeah, because had they participated, they likely would have moved themselves over.
Gotcha.
Okay, so any questions about that? Or the early voting or anything?
How many overseas, yeah, so to speak, ballots do you mail out, send out?
Yeah, so in a small election, it'll be 5. In a big election like the general election, we had like 160 in November of 2020.
That's good.
Yeah, and most are overseas civilians. I'd say 20 are military, 15 are military. But overseas civilians or spouses. So yeah, I mean, in November 2020, people were people were spending like $150 in postage to get it back on time, Yeah, I mean, people were really, and they were coming from really all over the world. One of them came by diplomatic pouch. It was amazing.
Do you want to say anything about the extension on that?
Oh, great point, Mary. Thank you. So there's also a new law for overseas and military voters. Their ballots may arrive by 6 days after election night,
Still,
provided that they were postmarked by election day and still be counted. But only for those. So my message to everybody is all ballots are due to the clerk's office by 8 p.m. on election night, with these small exceptions. Also signature curing, which is something we've been really proactive about. In Scio Township, there are new laws that give people that put additional obligations on clerks to proactively reach out to people if their signature doesn't match what's on file, if they haven't signed this and that. They're all practices that we've been doing for several years here. So it wasn't a big change in practice to us. It just sort of formalized it. But it did give people more rights. So I know Promote the Vote and others are doing a lot of education about that. About signature curing, as it's called. So your signature comes in, doesn't match. Your clerk has an obligation to reach out to you and let you know that. And but
so you can come in person and sign.
and people do that all the time. We're calling people every day. We run to their houses, we email them, we call them. We call them many times.
An embarrassing number of times.
We call them an embarrassing number of times, and then eventually I show up
Get the
I show up at their house and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. So they may actually, if there are any uncured signatures by election night, they actually have 3 days after election day
To cure your signature.
that they may come in. So that's why we have to have somebody here for 3 days after election day to take those. And then those, along with any of the stragglers from overseas, go to the border canvassers. So, I mean, all of these things affect a few voters. And then, of course, early voting will be continuing under the same countywide agreement we have in place. Will be a regional hub still. It'll be again 9 to 5 for the Saturday to Sunday, those 9 days. For every election. Yeah, thank you, Mary. That's
July 27th, we
yeah, Saturday, July 27th. Is when early voting opens. That's also the first of 2 weekends that the township clerk's office is open. And there's so many reasons why Scio Township is a good location. I'll say, for the efficiency of the clerk's office, it's also because we have to have clerk's hours anyway. So I actually can do both of those things at once, of supervising the site and having clerk's office open.
That's kind of sending color too.
It is, it's a great, easy access. What we don't yet know is if we're gonna continue to have only the 5 jurisdictions voting here, or if we're gonna move toward having this become a site where anybody in the county can vote. That's something the county's considering. Ed Golombiewski, the deputy county clerk, registrar, and director of elections, has left the county. He's now working for the U.S. Election Administration Commission. And so Trish is filling in as deputy and director of elections. They're looking to hire a new director of elections. So we'll kind of see where that goes in time, but the county will continue to administer and pay for the early voting inspectors and all of that. So it's a better deal for the township.
Just a moment ago, you were saying, you were describing a situation that hadn't occurred to you before this meeting, and that is that we have people who are going to be confused about which absentee voter list they're on. And I'm sure you've thought of this, but how is the front desk, I mean, what's the plan for handling those kinds of questions?
Yeah, we'll have a little training with Fran and Christy next week. I mean, they're really good at kind of keeping up on the changes in elections. And
2 clerks and assistants.
yeah, and by mid-June, we'll have 2 clerks assistants, but certainly we'll sit down with Fran and Christy and make sure they're prepared to answer those questions. Christy's also a basic user of QVF. And so she has the ability to look people up and answer basic questions.
Because you've got these 2 lists, how are you gonna figure out where someone falls?
Yeah, and the truth is the people on the permanent ballot list are the people who have been the more recently active voters. So they're gonna understand it. The people who are on the permanent absentee voter list maybe don't even know it's an option, so. You know, people start plugging back in as we get closer to November. We just have a lot of people who don't vote besides the, big ones.
But there will definitely be people at or near the front desk to answer any elections questions competently and fully.
Yeah, yeah. And also at the Clerks Association, we're gonna be doing more coordination with law enforcement out of the training that I went to up in Lansing. So that was a really interesting training. So. Yeah, so I think the US Election Assistance Commission, that's what it's called, US Election Assistance. Has been kind of spearheading some of that. Yeah, so any other questions or thoughts? Other than that, the work of the election commission hasn't changed.
Do we need to set up meetings or?
Yeah, so our suggestion here on G2 is to set 3 meetings, so we're all lined up for the rest of the year. Oh, okay. Do you want to go grab it? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, if we,
Go run.
do you mind grabbing it? Well, that'd be
It's
great.
time for our musical interlude. Jess.
I know, it's all me.
Singing clerk.
It's all me. You sing too.
Yeah, that's it.
No, we're
Some
gonna-
shoes, some jokes.
Yeah, that's a good joke. Oh, I know. What did the 0 say to the 8?
I don't know, what did the 0 say to the 8?
Nice belt.
Isn't
that funny?
That's a good one. Is that an Oscar joke? I love it.
Yeah.
I love the knock knock joke stage. I adore it.
It's funny.
It's funny and it's fun. There's like there's infinity number of knock knock jokes in the world.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm hearing them all.
I bet.
We're kind of moving into a different phase of jokes in my house.
Uh-oh.
Not as appropriate.
I have to send you the New Yorker short film of that.
Okay. All right, we're back from the commercial break. So what we'd like to do is set the next 3 meetings. We would need a meeting in July to do the public accuracy test and appoint election inspectors. Beginning of September to do what we did today, authorize 80 town boards. And then one in mid-October to do the public accuracy test and appoint election inspectors for November. We were suggesting the following dates, July 15th is the first one, or sometime around then.
It would have to be before July 16th.
Yeah. Me early, so that.
So if you can't make the 15th, please suggest a date before that.
So July 15th is on Monday.
That's a Monday.
Makes sense.
That's okay with you, Don?
So that's in between board meetings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that will work.
Okay, great. You want to call it for 10?
Okay.
Great, thank you. With that posted. The next suggestion is September 4th. And if not September 4th, then before then.
I won't be here.
Okay, are you out that
Waiting.
whole week?
Yes, we have a wedding of Lewis and a dentist appointment in the middle of it.
Oh, boy.
What about the week prior, Donna? That last week of August?
Yeah,
That would be August, the week of August 26th.
Mhm.
Maybe the end of the week.
Sure. You want to look at Thursday, August 29th?
that would be good.
Okay,
Let's see, 20. That would be good.
10
I
a.m.?
can make it work, yeah.
okay, great.
And that's gonna be another super short one like this,
Yeah,
even shorter.
yeah.
Because we want this task.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can debrief the August election, but that would be the only topic. And then October 10th would be a longer one, public accuracy test and appointing election inspectors. How does October 10th look?
It looks good for me.
That's Thursday.
10 a.m. good?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So is there,
Okay, so that's the week of. board.
October 10, did you say 10 a.m.?
yeah,
Thank you.
so we're looking at Monday, July 15th, 10 a.m., Thursday, August 29th, 10 a.m., and Thursday, October 10th, 10 a.m.
Give me a motion to approve those.
Sure.
I move to approve the 3 dates that we discussed, Monday, July 15th, Thursday, August 29th, and Thursday on October 10th. 10 a.m. All of them at 10 a.m. as the meetings of the election commission.
Support.
Support.
Okay.
Oh, you support.
Nope, you support. That's fine.
Sorry.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Great. That's all I have. With that, we'll move to final public comment. As chance for members of the public to speak up to 3 minutes under the purview of the election commission. Anybody online, like to share any public comment? Please raise your hand.
Sure. Pam Boyd.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, awesome work. Thank you very much. This is a really important election for Scio Township, and I appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Any other public comment? Please raise your Zoom hand. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Hathaway, support by Palmer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the meeting is adjourned at 11:29. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks to the public for joining.